Hello, and welcome to the Groundhoppers Guide. This is number 9. I am rapidly running out of fingers. We're coming towards the end of our first season doing this. My ground number has gone up significantly.
You've hit a significant milestone.
Yeah, it's actually kind of convenient that we're recording it when I'm slap bang on 50 grounds. But at the start of the season, my aim was basically like my stretch aim was 50. So I've done that and I still haven't finished. So
yeah, I think my aim's 50 and I think it's doable. As long as I just I think I just need to plan the next couple of weeks. I think I'll definitely be 50 by the end of the summer because I've got at least 3 new grounds in the plan anyway. So
I think I've got 4 plaques. We're both going to games in the women's Euros.
Women's Euros, yeah.
And maybe somewhere else. Don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
We have a substantial amount of grounds to talk about since we last spoke to you. That was just after, I want to say Southampton. We did Southampton.
It was, yeah, Southampton was the last one.
So here are the 10 grounds that we're going to talk about. We've got Wycombe, which Mike went to, but didn't actually see Wycombe there. We've got Sutton Coldfield, which I went to, but didn't see Sutton Coldfield play. We've then got Notts County, which I went to and did see Notts County play at. We have non-league day, which is Cheshunt. Am I saying that right? Cheshunt?
I think it's Cheshunt.
Cheshunt, yeah. Like pheasant.
Cheshunt like pheasant, but not spelt like it.
We've got Cheshunt, which Mike went to for non-league day. For non-league day, I went to the largest ground I could possibly go to that day to see a football game. There wasn't Wembley. I went to Sheffield Wednesday. Not really in the spirit of the thing, but to make up for it, I went to Hemsford 3 days later and watched Leroy Lita. So
amazing.
That's going to be fun. I also went to West Ham and Millwall in consecutive weekends, which probably wouldn't have gone over very well with either fan base, to be honest. And finally, Mike had a big Easter and went to Hemel, Hempstead and Bedford. I can't remember which Bedford is. Is it Bedford Town?
Bedford Town. It wasn't the Bitcoin one because obviously one of them's been bought by some Bitcoin crook, but it wasn't that one.
Con man.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the I'd also like to point out I got this shirt off eBay and it's the Mexico 86 PK mascot and it looks awesome. So I'm just going to show it. Because you can't really see it otherwise, because it's kind of down here under the thing.
I've got my fake Montpellier shirt from a DHgate on with Big Tej on the back, which you can't see. Football manager David Moyes Invitational legend Teji Savanier on the back. So. Yeah, anyway, that's a bit of a deep cut for all the long term.
for all the David Moyes Invitational fans out there. So the first ground we're going to talk about is Wycombe. Which is where Mike went to not watch Wycombe. I have been there. I did see Wycombe play. I'm not allowed to mark it on Footballogy as that I've been there to see that game because Bromsgrove Rovers, who they played, don't exist. So all their games have been like
expunged
or something. They're just not on there. But I have been there, and I went there when I was, I want to say like not very old. 15.
It was maybe. Back in the old Vauxhall conference.
I remember it was cold, and I was wearing gloves. And in the season review video, there's a bit where there's like a big coming together right in front of me, and you can see me chanting off at the Wycombe player. Apart from that, and like some memories of the team coach the fan coach on the way there, I don't really remember Wycombe. So let's look at Mike's memories instead.
Yeah, so Wycombe, it was a bit of a last-minute choice because as a person with a car, I don't have to plan as far in advance as On does. All I kind of have to do is kind of get to about 11 in the morning and go, right, where am I going to? Okay, I can drive there and there's parking on that road there. So I was sort of looking through the fixtures and I was going, what's this? So the reason I didn't see Wycombe play is because Jersey Bulls, Wycombe were playing away, but Jersey Bulls, who are the club side from the island of Jersey in the Channel Islands, they were playing in Wycombe inexplicably. It was a home fixture for them. The main reason is that their stadium, the Springfield Stadium, not the one from The Simpsons, but the Springfield Stadium, was being refurbished. I think because Truckosaurus was coming soon.
Oh
yeah.
Was there a problem with security and stuff because Maud Flanders fell off the top of it?
Yeah, and Lance Murdoch had crashed his bike into the. Is it Lance Murdoch?
Yes.
Yeah, he crashed his bike into the stand or something like that. So yeah, the Springfield Stadium was being refurbished on Little Island of Jersey. So they were kind of doing a bit of a mini. It was almost like back in the olden days when teams would do a tour of Brazil, or Exeter did the tour of Brazil and things like that. Just Jersey did a home tour of. They played at Wycombe. They played, I think, down in Three Bridges, down by sort of Crawley Way. They played in about 2 or 3 little smaller games, and it was just a regular. I can't remember the exact league it is. I've got it on my sheet here. It was the. Sorry about that. It was the Combined Counties League Premier Division South. And it was against Banstead United. And I'll tell you what, it's one of the best games I've seen all season. Genuinely, I quite liked the ground. I think
we've got some pictures of the ground, so
I don't entirely know why, but I kind of felt like it was a bit alpine. It just because it's all surrounded by trees. Big rolling hills in the background.
Yeah, that's one thing I do remember is that you could see out of the stadium, and there's you can see rolling hills over the top of the stand.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll probably see in some of the pictures anyway. But it was a really, really. I think it was a really nice looking ground. I think Wycombe's always been a team that's kind of. I think League One's kind of their level, or they are kind of punching on the Championship a little bit, but really nice, fairly smart stadium, and I think it's perfect really for a team of Wycombe's size. The game itself, it was the final score was 3-2, but Jersey. So Banstead, I think, took an early lead. Jersey equalised, which made everyone go crazy. Then Banstead got a second goal, and we're like, oh, okay, well, that's the game over. In the 95th minute, Jersey equalised, and I tell you what, the Jersey fans are absolutely mental. They had cowbells, which was a bit weird. They had cowbells. There was all loads of Jersey flags, so it was felt like a proper continental game. 95th.
How many went? How many did they have?
I think there was about 40 odd Jersey fans. Which, to be honest, that many travelling for a non-league game is actually pretty good anyway. If you think about Southern combination level, there can't be many teams drawing 40 anyway. And the fact that they've had to fly from Jersey, well, they don't pay tax, so they could afford it. The fact that there was about 40 to 50, I think, Jersey fans.
It's so random when playing at Wycombe. That's just
yeah. They had they went absolutely mental because they equalised, and then on the 97th, it was something like the 97th minute, Banstead had just immediately scored a winner, and it went absolutely crazy. And probably on the best, at least the best last 10 minutes of a game I've seen anyway. Really, but one of my games of the season for sure. But really did enjoy it. Liked Wycombe. I'd like to maybe see what it's like in sort of the full. There we go. In the full sort of Wycombe regalia with the proper crowd, but yeah, it was really good fun, and it was. I felt like
the Wycombe Till I Die banner is still there on there.
Yeah, can you think of a more depressing concept?
Yeah, Sunderland Till I Die.
Yeah, born in Wycombe, die in Wycombe. But yeah, it was a very easy way to get a very cheap point on the 92 list, because it was £7, I think, to get in. So it wasn't that expensive. So yeah, it was mainly it was a very cheap way of getting a point on the 92 because I'm very slacking on that. There you go. That's the leg room.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be leg room of the season right there.
Yeah. Well, I will say about just on the next post there, the prices at Wycombe are extortionate for food. Like £7 for a pie. Absolutely disgraceful. That was. Yeah.
That feels like a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely disgraced in terms of the food prices. But I had the
£1.50 for a Mars bar. What
was that?
£1.50 for a Mars bar.
Yeah.
Is it gold plated?
Yeah, it has. Every single Mars bar's got the actual prize-winning code on it or something. Yeah, that was Wycombe. I did enjoy it. It was one to tick off. I'd like to go back again, but yeah. But the main thing that I came out of it is that I really want to go to Jersey for football now because they're all mental.
Wycombe, when I went, it definitely wasn't all-seater. It looked like it's all-seater now.
It is all-seater now, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I stood up.
It's very much a... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, we was like the away bit would have been, I think, like from where you were sat, I think it was down like the right side of that stand, and I'm pretty sure it was all terraced.
Yeah, I don't remember there being I think it is 100% seater now because Wycombe's won a lot of prizes as being sort of like family club of the season. I think they've won that a few times, and genuinely, it's the all-seater grounds that get that. So, I think that is the case there. So yeah. What's next? Sutton Coldfield.
What's that? Sorry, I was looking at pictures.
You're looking at the pictures of Wycombe.
Yeah, it's total professionalism there. I was looking at pictures instead of paying attention to what I was supposed to be doing. Yeah, so I went to Sutton Coldfield Town. I didn't actually go to watch Sutton Coldfield Town. I went to Coles Lane to actually watch West Brom Wimbledon.
Okay.
The idea behind this was so you know Tannoy Tom?
Yes.
The Tannoy man.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Tannoy Tom. Tannoy man at Romulus. I hadn't been to a game with him for quite a while. I think it might even have been pre-season. And we were like, oh, we need to go and do something. No, I went to Burton with him. I went to Burton with him last time. And we said, oh, we'll do it. We'll do something again. There's got to be something coming up. And his mate Shaz was also in this. We had like a little three-man group chat. And he wanted to go and experience the whole adventures in football thing. He said he read the blog, thought it was great. And so we were like, okay, we'll meet up in Sutton Coldfield. We'll go and watch West Brom Women because we're all free on the Sunday. We'll go and make a day of it. And let's just say there was alcohol involved. When the game started, I was sat in the clubhouse with my back to the pitch, and I think I was on my fourth beer.
The Sutton Coldfield could have been playing. You still wouldn't have watched them.
But the good news is, I'm just going to scroll down to get the picture of the pitch. You can actually see it from inside the bar. So there we go. So that picture that I've taken there, I took that picture from inside the bar. That was where I was sat with my beers. I just had to kind of turn around and look over my shoulder to see the pitch. Can't quite see the corner flag in that one end, but apart from that, not a problem. Also, I really like the stand. So
that's a nice proper old-fashioned on that one.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's up off the ground because it's behind the dugouts, which I don't really understand because there was plenty of room for the dugouts on the other side. Could have just put them over there. But it's over the dugouts, and then like all the execs and everything and the media and everything is in that stand, and everyone else just kind of roams around.
Yeah.
It's a fun little ground, Sutton Coldfield. It probably helped that I'd had a couple of beers. They share it with Paget Rangers.
Okay.
It's also, let me just pull up the entranceway. It's also there's a pigeon club, a rifle and pistol club, a sub-aqua club, and a table tennis club. I'm not really sure what the sub-aqua means.
All I can think of is I don't know if you ever watched Auf Wiedersehen, Pet, but in second series Auf Wiedersehen, Pet, when they're in Spain, Barry, who's the Timothy Spall, he's the Brummy Sparky, and they're basically effectively on the run in Spain, and they say they're a member of the Wolverhampton District Aqualung Society. So
I don't know.
Yeah, big fan of Auf Wiedersehen, Pet.
So the opposite side to where the stand is over here. That is a brook.
Okay.
So
right in the river.
Yeah. So if the ball goes over this bit of netting,
it's in the water. Oh, there we go.
It's in the brook. So it's quite a tight ground on that one side. The car park is actually inside the ground. So when you drive into the ground, you're literally driving through the bit that you stand in, and then the car park's like round the side of it. Okay. So I was like walking along, and there's a car driving behind me. I'm like, oh, look at that. It also has my favorite stand that I've ever seen. Are you ready? Are you ready for the stand?
Yes, go for it.
This is such a great stand.
Bracing myself. The Richard Hunt. It looks like a. Have you ever seen that? It looks like a bus shelter, but have you ever seen that one? I can't remember. Is that team? I want to say it's up in Liverpool way, where they've basically got a trolley park from a Tesco. Have you ever seen that?
No.
I'll have to show you a picture of that at some point. But
that's my favourite stand that I've seen.
That is literally a bus shelter, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. It's a little bit bigger than a bus shelter, and it hasn't got any like permanent fixtures in there because, and I found this out afterwards. This is like where the wheelchair-bound supporters,
right?
Because there's a little ramp on the one end. You can go into it and just kind of it's shelter. Whereas like the main stand, obviously everything's like this high up, so you can't get up to it. There's
probably a legal thing that they have to have. If you have covered seating for able-bodied, well, I don't know if it is a legal thing, but you kind of get the impression it's like, well, if you have covered seating for everybody except for disability supporters, are you discriminating? I don't know. I don't know if that would count.
I don't know, but it's there. It's a nice little stand. I like the fact that there were just 4 chairs in there. So it felt like
there's a suggestion of the stand.
If you turned up with like 3 of your mates, you packed out an entire stand.
You could start a Mexican wave in there.
Yeah. So yeah, that was. I really don't have a lot else to say about the game. It was a pretty good game. West Brom women, they played AFC Fylde, and I happened to. That's the second time this season I've seen AFC Fylde women's team play in the West Midlands because I saw them play away at Wolves as well. They were boring away at Wolves. I actually had a really good game against West Brom. It finished 2-2. And Shannon Stamps, shout out to Shannon, scored an absolute worldie. Saw the keeper off their line, just outside the D, and just dinked it over the keeper and just sailed and just went under the bar.
So what? So I'm completely ignorant of it. What level is this? This isn't Premier League. This isn't Premier League 2, is it?
No, I think this is the third tier.
Third tier, yeah. Because I think Luton play in like the third tier as well for their region sort of thing. But I wonder if it's that, yeah.
Yeah, the standard wasn't bad. Yeah. But then I went to watch Birmingham and Aston Villa play early in the season, and that game was terrible. And they are in the
Super League, sorry, WSL 2.
So yeah, I thought this was like I've seen 3 women's games this season. One of them was all right, one of them was bad, and this one was really good. Okay. So I'm kind of glad I got this one in before the season's over because I was on a bit of a shaky trajectory with women's football. So no, it was a really good game. A couple of players really, really stood out. Shannon Stamps,
Shazzy Stamps,
Shazzy Stamps.
Could she muscle her way into the team of the year?
Oh, maybe. I've got her on the shortlist for goal of the season. So
okay, fair enough.
Okay, and from from there, we rapidly go to Meadow Lane.
Meadow Lane.
Home Notts County.
I have been to Meadow Lane this season.
Yes.
Well, because we parked outside it when we went to Forest, and I took a really nice picture of Meadow Lane.
Yeah. So you remember that like dodgy looking car park that's like on the corner of the ground?
Yeah.
That's where we parked.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I was like, you can literally you can almost throw a stone and hit you probably could throw a stone and hit the ground from this car park, and there was plenty of stones around because it was a mess.
Where did we?
It was so close.
Office supplies or something. Office supplies company when we went to Forest. But...
Oh yeah, we parked in someone else's car. This was like the only car park that I saw that was open, but there was that much traffic parked on the roads. I've actually got a picture of the car park. It's there's my wife in the car, and you can see the enormous potholes up the side here.
God,
yeah, it was a bit rough. She put the crook lock on, my wife's a complete lunatic. She decided that she was going to take a plate full of mango with her to the game. And she was sat eating it in the car, and I was like, we've got to go to the game. So she's like, oh, I'll just bring it with me. And she's like, you can't bring a plate into a football ground. So here she is trying to disguise it inside a hat.
Did it get in?
No. So I made her put it back in the car, and then we went through the turnstiles, and she was just kind of like punching me in the arm and going like, I could have got that in. I could have got that plate in. They didn't check me.
I'm picturing that. Yeah. Yeah, you could definitely get a plate of mango in too.
Why?
I think we should do a challenge for our viewers next season. Next season, somebody has to sneak an inconspicuous,
like an actual meal on a plate.
Yes,
into a ground.
Get that on Footy Scran.
When I was at
Notts County would sue you for misrepresenting their Scran.
This is from earlier in the season when
that's the photo I took, isn't it?
It might be actually.
Yeah.
It's either me or you. I can't remember. But that's when we were there early in the season. I couldn't take that picture this time because there was security all over here, and it just looked really untidy. Okay. But I like the color scheme. I just like the general sort of. It's not a rundown vibe. It's one of those where they've only improved the bits that they needed to improve. So the steps outside the ground, not very aesthetically pleasing in terms of
safe. They're safe.
They're fine. But then, I mean, you look at the side of it from the outside, it doesn't scream like awesome. It's just there's a lot of tin, and honestly, I didn't know what to expect, and I got into the ground, and the ground is just really nice.
Yeah,
it's just really, really nice.
It's I think obviously Notts County. It's a bit of a cliche for a lot of teams at this sort of level, but they are really, really playing well below their level.
Yeah, I mean, this is a championship ground.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's better than Kenilworth Road.
It's so nice. I mean, I kind of took a picture down here of the steps, so you can see there's a little bit of wear on the steps.
Yeah,
but everything else just looks great. It's like they've painted over everything else that was a bit ropey, but you just can't hide that like a wear on the ground. But the ground was just great.
Who did you see them play?
I want to say Boreham Wood.
Okay, yeah. Not my favourite club, to be honest.
Well, they lost, so yeah, Notts County won 1-0. Should have won by more, I would have said. Best thing about Notts County, not just soaking up all the history and the just vibe that they had from being like one of the founder members of the Football League, but it was the fans at Notts County are the nicest fans I've ever seen. at, at any ground ever. They were so nice. They just about edged out Port Vale.
I was about to say, because obviously you put over Port Vale there.
Yeah, Port Vale, it felt like I was sat somewhere that I feel like I should have always have been sat. At Notts County, it felt like I'd come back, like after missing a couple of games or something, and the people around me were like, all right, how you doing? It just felt like I was there before, you know, it just felt like that was my spiritual home. It was
I remember reading about they'd obviously know, oh, that's the bloke and his weird wife who sneaks in the mango.
Plate go to the ground. Yeah, it felt like that. It felt like that a lot. And a lot of football grounds that I've been to this season, I've really liked the ground and I've not objected to the fans. But at the same time, I haven't really felt like I was part of that fan base, even though I wasn't anyway. Like, I mean, I haven't been a part of a fan base for a while. So to sit there and just kind of feel like I was part of it. I was having a chat with the bloke next to me about the game. The old fella behind me managed to drop his crutch into the back of my seat. So when I went to sit down, the seat wouldn't go down. I was like, "Oh, sorry, mate, I've got your leg." And he's pulling his crutch out. Oh, cheeky bugger! It was it felt like I'd been there my whole life.
Oh, that's great.
I know I said something similar about Port Vale, but it was even more like that at Notts County. And it's just the way that everyone spoke around me. It was like I was in something, and they just gone, "Yeah, he's one of us." And
did you almost feel like when you was leaving, you were like, "Oh yeah, I'll see you next week"? That you kind of felt you almost had to stop yourself saying that. I was
not expecting somebody to say that to me on the way out. Going, "Are you at the game of the weekend?" It felt like that. It really did. Which is, I feel that's one of the highest compliments that I can pay to any club, is that I've been to one game and I feel like I've been a supporter of that club my entire life just from that one game.
Well, I definitely want to do Notts County, so if you're quite welcome to join me for that one.
I'll quite happy to go back again. Yeah. I'll probably recognise. Yeah. Oh, it's that fella. Where's your wife? She got them mangoes. So that was Notts County.
Have to sneak a pineapple in or something like that.
Yeah, so you got to sneak some fruit in. That's just part of the. She left it in the car eventually. But...
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Hillsborough or do you want to talk about Pheasant?
Pheasant, Cheshunt. Well, I'm happy to go first on Cheshunt. I can rattle off of that.
Okay. So I'm going to go and find your.
So while you're doing that, this was obviously non-league day, which is a celebration. Well, celebration. I don't know if it is, but it's a national in England anyway day where it's usually the first international break of the year, and basically you're encouraged to go watch non-league teams because there's it's the first weekend where there's no Premier League and no Championship games of the year. So a lot of clubs up and down the pyramid, including in the league, they slash their prices. If you've got a season ticket for a football league side, you can usually get in for free. But equally, it was when I went. So Cheshunt was the game I went to. So Cheshunt's just north of London. It's in Hertfordshire, but it's just on the overground. So I think it kind of counts as London. Because my dear friend Welshie, friend of the show, Welshie, came along for this one. And he got the overground up here. So it was, I think it technically probably counts as London. Those
look like London outskirts trees to me.
Yeah, it's on the edge of. I would consider it Hertfordshire personally, but I think you could, if you can get there on the Oyster, then I think it's probably London, isn't it?
I've got a picture of Welshie. That's pretty much.
There we go. Welshie and is sending his burger into footy scram. So it was pay as much as you want to get in, minimum £2. They said. So we both, me and Welshie both paid a tenner to get in because it's about what I pay for most games anyway.
It's about right, for non-league.
Some are over that, some are under, but I think that's about the average. Actually,
Notts County was like 20 quid, but then I suppose the uptake of a ground of that size, you kind of need a little bit of cash coming in, especially when the crowds aren't as big as they would be.
And that is
they
National
have a
League.
big crowd, so.
That is National League as well. I
Yeah.
mean, Luke was paying 15. I was paying 15 quid in 16 quid in the conference when Luton were down there at Kenilworth Road. So it's about right. So this was Isthmian League Premier Division, which is the league below. It's one of the three leagues below the North and South National League.
Yeah, they're the feeder leagues into the
Northern Premier League, the Isthmian League, and the Southern League. It was Cheshunt versus Worthing. Worthing were at the time, I haven't seen the table since, but they were storming towards the title in the Isthmian League, so they are pretty looking like they are going to be in the Conference South next year. Sorry, National League South. I can't get that out of my head.
Yeah, I still call it the conference sometimes. Yeah, I kind of have to catch myself.
But yeah, it was. This was the first scorching days. It was just in that period at the end of March where it was scorching. I think the way to describe it. Didn't bother taking a jumper, just out there in my shirt. And I think I said on the thing, it's nice days in the sun like this is what makes standing in the cold at Mansfield Town in January, or 61 FC or whatever, or Leverstock Green. Like,
I've just gone and looked at it. Worthing are indeed the champions of the Isthmian League.
Oh, they won the league now. They were a very good team. Very good team.
Well,
great.
Could make the playoffs though. So.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Worthing had a great crowd. They brought a great crowd with them. Cheshunt had a Welshie probably would be able to explain it as more, but they had this mascot. He was a lion. I can't remember the lion's name, but all he did is for the entire game, he just walked around the stadium waving this flag like this. He just did this for the entire game, just walked around the whole stadium. And like, I tried to get a photo with him, and he was just like, "No, I love you," and then just carried on walking. So I got completely buoyed off by this mascot. Sorry, just saying about this photo here. So Cheshunt's the main tenants of the ground, but there's also another team that play there, and they're a team I would actually quite like to see, called FC Romania, who is as probably guessed by the name, it's a Romanian immigrant team. I have quite a lot of Romanian players, and I'm kind of curious to go simply because I wonder if they have Romanian food during the game. Because if they have like fancy Romanian sausages and beer and crazy Romanian beers, then I think it might be worth a go. If they've just got the normal catering, then whatever. But so yeah, there's two tenants at that ground. Fairly threadbare ground, really. Right in sort of the foresty sort of. No, it's kind of like in the forest of the, not forest, like woodland area of the town. Quite open and exposed, and one like moderately sized stand. There's two sort of cow sheds either end. There's a cow shed either end of the ground, plus like the one big stand I think you'd seen earlier. But yeah, it was a nice one to go to. Not too far from me, really. Easy one to do if you're kind of in West London and you've got an afternoon spare, really. But as I say, I think I always say it's a tick. It's one I don't need to do again. But yeah, worth a visit if you're in that end of the town, in that end of London, and you've got nothing else to do. Really.
Cool. So the same day, I celebrated non-league day by going to Hillsborough with like 30,000 other people. I write about every single ground that I go to, so I've done like 50 of these. The Luton one got a little bit of traction, but the one I wrote about Sheffield Wednesday has been read by far more people than anything else I've probably ever written. It was ridiculously viral on Twitter. They were all the Sheffield Wednesday fan groups retweeted it, and everyone was sending me messages. I ended up with like, I think a quarter of my followers on Twitter now support Sheffield Wednesday. I never badmouth Sheffield Wednesday on Twitter because I'll be in trouble.
Or be pro Blades.
No, I definitely can't. I don't like Sheffield United anyway, so I feel like I'm already in a good spot there for being accepted by the Sheffield Wednesday fans. I loved Sheffield Wednesday. It's one of those grounds that it's a classic. So let's have a look at the outside of it. This is we were walking around because we had to walk around the outside of the ground because I basically got us parked on the far side of where we were sat, which seems to happen every single time. I don't do it on purpose. I don't want to deliberately walk around the ground or something. It just happens. So this big lad here, that's the back of the main stand for the end stand. And then we kind of strolled around and went up the ramp, and here it is from the other side. So that is like the main home stand. That's the side opposite, and this is the worst part of the ground that they've reserved for the away fans.
So that is that the Spion Cup?
The one on that is that one.
Yeah, okay.
That is a big lad.
That's obviously the infamous stand here.
Yeah, it's huge, and the one I was in is also enormous. This I've zoomed all the way out so you can get like a full. Like this is it's such a beautiful ground. It's just classic in ways that people who talk about like old Wembley and Highbury and all your classic old ground.
Ibrox, Villa Park.
Yeah, it's sitting in Hillsborough is like sitting in one of those grounds. It's just beautiful to look at. It's breathtakingly beautiful. It's all of the stands just like. It doesn't really. I can't capture it here in like a tiny little picture within the video. It just doesn't do it justice. It's a stunning ground. It's an absolute stunner. I had a really good time at the game as well. I just need to get a close up on this one. This is what opposite me for the entire game. And every time there was a lull, I was just having a look at it. It's just it's just
lovely bit of wrought iron there. Is that is that like a football in the? So above the clock, there's like a. Is it a bell?
Not really sure. Yeah, it's a beauty anyway. It was a really good game as well. I think it was 4-1. Is it 3-1 or 4-1? 4-1. Yeah, 4-1. They were playing Cheltenham.
Okay.
So I went to Cheltenham early in the season. I really liked the Johnny Rocks. Cheltenham are a lovely little team, good fan base, but it's like night and day compared to like where Sheffield Wednesday operate at.
Yeah.
This is a proper big team. They're pulling 30,000 in League One, and not just like because it's a nice sunny day. They're averaging like 32,000, I think. Or no, 20 something. I can't remember now. I know Sunderland's 30,000, so it might be like just under that.
Probably 25, 26. Or
right, somewhere in there. But if you get over 20,000 in League One, you're a big team.
Yeah, you're doing well.
You're a big team that's underachieving. There is a feeling around Sheffield Wednesday that they've been down here for too long, that they've underachieved for too long, and that they really should be higher up the league. And yet there's also like there's a self-depreciation about them as well, the fans. So they accept that the team's not very good at the moment, but as soon as they see something that they like, the response is incredible. Like it's very vocally excitable people in South Yorkshire. They complained a lot. There was a lot of whinging. I had a bloke sat behind me who spent the whole game whinging, even though they won comfortably. And it's like, Well, what can you do?
I think League One, especially now, is such a difficult league to get out of because there's just such a logjam of very good teams. Well, there's a logjam of very good teams. So you have Sunderland, big teams. You got Sunderland, you've got
Ipswich
Wednesday,
in there as
you've got
well.
Ipswich, you've got Portsmouth. Next year you're gonna have Derby County down there.
These are massive clubs.
Massive clubs. And also League One is you get tiny little bastard clubs who jump them. You had Luton do it, you had Wycombe do it, you have people like Burton Albion going and they just keep on skipping them. And it's almost as if League One needs to have 5 promotion spots. It's kind of that if it was like justifiable, you could argue that because the standard of teams going in that league is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, there's too many big clubs in this league. There's just too many.
Yeah, it's a wonderful league to watch. I always thought because
I've
been a variety of teams.
I think every League One game I've been to this season has been at least good. Whereas I can't say that for the Premier League or the Championship. Or it feels like this is the level, but also it's amazing to have a team like Sheffield Wednesday at this level, just to get the contrast of like when I went to Burton. That was a good game as well. When I went to Burton, to have that like 2,000 fans, and it's on the same level as this with like 23,000 in the ground. And obviously Sunderland, which I haven't been to yet, but they take 30 in League One. It's kind of ridiculous, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I loved it. The Sheffield Wednesday fans have been telling me that I need to go back and go in the week to see it under the floodlights and experience that as well. So I might have to go back at some point.
Yeah, go for a nice evening in Sheffield. Yeah, go up midweek.
Yeah, you're welcome, Mike.
Yeah, might have to join you.
So that's another one. So that's like I've been ground collecting this season, and it feels like a few of the grounds that I've been to, I've come away going like, I really want to go back. And to do Notts County and then like 4 days later to do Sheffield Wednesday and to have the feeling from both of them, I was on an absolute footballing high.
Yeah.
After going to Hillsborough, I was loving life.
Yeah, I think I kind of had something. Well, we'll go on to it a little bit later, but the same thing from this past weekend as well. Doing 2 in very quick succession and both enjoying them. You can't beat it, I don't think.
Yeah, it's great. I've always said like football's what you make of it. So I know people who complain about all the money in football, and it's like if you don't like the Premier League, you don't like what the Premier League.
You don't need to watch it.
Go to League One. League One games are good. They're good open footballing games, and there seems I've been to like 3-4 games in I think 4 or 5 games maybe in League One this season.
Cheltenham.
I've been to Cheltenham. I've been to Burton. I've been to Shrewsbury, Sheffield Wednesday. I've been to 4, I guess.
Yeah.
But they've all been good games. All of them. They've all been really good games. Good open flowing attacking football. It's a good league. It's really fun to go and watch. And I've enjoyed like lower football than that as well. But I feel like League One is kind of my level.
Got everything you want,
good, but it's still got the passion and the heart, and it's not been ruined by money.
It's got everything you want in the sense that there's not teams that are fearful for oblivion, because dropping out of League Two is oblivion for a lot of clubs. It seems like it, even if it isn't.
Yeah, we look at Scunthorpe this season.
Promotion,
like they're done.
But also the other end is a lot of teams pay without fear for that reason. But you also did AFC Wimbledon.
Yes. So and that was a good game as well.
Yeah,
a really good game.
I've
been to Portsmouth as well.
Yeah,
and that was a really good game. I think probably of the best games I've been to this season, if I was going to do like a top 10, every single League One game would be in that top 10.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my record. I haven't done League One this year. There we go. So you've done
Brilliant.
at least six, and I've done 0.
Massive League One fan.
But then also, obviously, the prizes for getting into the Championship, like the Championship is obviously a mile above it, but it's still, that getting into that is such a tantalising prospect because you're one away from the promised land, aren't you? So, I do love League One, even if I haven't been to as much as I'd like to, really.
So after that, I don't want to call this a come down, but I went to Keys Park in Hempstead.
Oh, poor Keys Park.
So here's Keys Park, home of Hednesford Town FC. Hensford,
not Hednesford.
No, Hensford. So this season, I think I've gotten away without being described as a tourist, apart from when we went to Arundel and asked one of the away fans where the bar was. And that was a "you're not from around here, are you?" kind of moment. Hensford, I walked onto the car park and one of the stewards who was on the car park told me where the away fans went in. I'm like, I'm not an away fan. And then when I went past him, another steward told me to go back because the away fans were in behind me. I'm like, I'm not an away fan.
So were they segregated at Hednesford?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And the reason why it's segregated is because Hensford is near to Wolves and Stourbridge is near to West Brom.
Right.
Effectively, this is Wolves versus West Brom, the non-league version.
If you've got a banning order.
Yeah. So there was a lot of anti-West Brom chants. And when I went to Stourbridge, everyone around me was talking about how the Albion were doing. So that will kind of tell you what the part of the world is like. So this is like the B team for a lot of fans.
Okay.
So yeah, it was segregated. So I wanted to have a mooch around in the bit that was segregated. So I kind of went and opened a gate and then got told I was in the wrong part for the away fans again. I'm not an away fan. I hate Stourbridge. Jason Cowley.
Jason Cowley, yeah. Poor Jason Cowley. Maybe he'll get a good team next year.
So I finally got accepted by the Hensford fans by going into their bar and ordering a pint of Banks's. I think that's what finally did it.
I'd do it for me.
Although they still look funny at Tom. So I went with Tom. This was another game we went to together. And he likes to wear a blazer. And that kind of, like, the people of Hensford were very suspicious of blazer wearing Tom.
I think he's from London or something.
I think he was risking it by turning up in a blazer. But Keys Park, home of Hensford Town. The day that I went, there was terrible rail trouble, but I managed to negotiate my way around it. So
it's fairly standard at the moment.
The road up to Keys Park, it goes through a housing estate, and then I'm going to show you this. It just sort of ends and goes into the football club.
Okay.
So, like, I was walking along this road, and I was like, "Oh, the club's there." And then I was like, "What? The road literally just goes straight into the ground," which is a bit odd, I thought.
It's a bit like on Sim City. It's just at the end of the road. I need to put the football stadium there. Build the road to it.
Straight in. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour. So that's the home end. That's where all the ultras gathered. You'd be surprised to know that Hensford had one of the rowdiest crowds I've seen all season.
Okay.
On a Tuesday night. That's the far side, which is where we stood, because I wanted to get a look at this mammoth stand all game.
Big old stand.
I like having a view, to be honest. So yeah, that's the main stand. And this is Keys Park. So yeah, we went and stood over the other side. Oh, here's Tom. Here's Tom sporting a blazer, and
business casual.
Yeah, you can see why you got some funny looks. There's a map of the ground, and it's like a proper map that was like standing there next to
That's been commissioned, that.
the clubhouse. Yeah, it's really nice. Except it's a complete lie because it has this little red thing that says food areas. The one in this corner it didn't exist. The one in the top left corner, that didn't exist either. So this is the main stand. Down here is the away bit, and there's a bit that says outdoor bar. So I was going to go and stand next to that, but then realised I had to stand amongst the Stourbridge fans and decided against it.
Nah.
So we ended up with this view from across the way.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's quite pleasant. And the big thing about this game was they just signed Leroy Lita.
Bloody hell.
Hednesford, they'd signed him like 2-3 days beforehand, and he scored a hat-trick. It's like when you're like in school, you're having a kick around with the lads on the field, and somebody's older brother turns up. He bullied this team. He could have scored 20 if he wanted to.
Leroy Lita is a player who either retired 15 years ago or is still playing for Reading. he's one of the two.
He's 37 years old, but yeah, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, that's a name that you wouldn't expect to have seen, though. To be fair, did you know he'd signed before you turned up, or?
When I made the plan to go, I didn't know he'd signed, and then I was looking at their social media before I went, and they announced that he'd signed, and I was like, "Oh, I hope he plays." And then when the teams came out, I was like,
"Was this his debut then?"
Yeah.
Oh, in the hat trick.
Yeah, it was his debut. Scored a hat trick. I think they won 3-1 in the end.
That's the way to endear yourself to the Hednesford fans, eh?
Well, the Hednesford fans were mostly kids, so they were. All the old fellas are stood over where we were, and then that one end that I showed you at the side, that's where all the rowdy kids stood. So they were passing like a bucket around and putting it on people's heads, and then chanting, "You've got a bucket on his head."
Did the bucket end up on your head?
No, because I wasn't in that part of the ground.
Right.
But I appreciate the efforts. It feels like they've watched. Those best football chants video on the YouTube. It feels like they've watched one of those and they're just using all of those chants, but they really threw themselves into it. So I've got to give them some credit for that. It's a really good atmosphere considering the level.
The level, yeah.
It was freezing and it was Tuesday night. It went surprisingly well, I would say. Got to see Leroy Lita. Just a good time. Good time with the
winners all round, really. And you saw what's Jason Cowley? Did he play?
Jason Cowley? No, he's done his knee. I think he's out for the season. He's preparing for next year. So I'm hoping he leaves Stourbridge and comes back to Bromsgrove.
Find someone good.
Yeah, because Bromsgrove have really suffered without him. They have barely stayed up this season. I think they won against Redditch a couple of weeks ago, which was a big moment for me, and because they won that game, they're not mathematically safe or anything. They're playing Hitchin at the weekend, and I think this is probably going to come out like when it happens.
This afternoon they're playing Hitchin.
Yes. And if they draw, I think they can't go into the relegation playoff. Okay. But Hitchin are currently in the relegation playoff, so it's really
an important game, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big one at top field. Get yourself down to it. Right. Next, I went to West Ham.
West Ham versus Everton.
Yeah, I hated it.
Did you hate it?
Yeah.
My dad was at this game.
Yeah. To be fair, it's the kind of ground I am happy to sit in and watch a game that I don't care about, because it's really nice. The facilities are top dog. It's expensive. Leg room's great. I just really could have gone without going to see like Everton lose from the midst of a load of West Ham fans who thought their team was bad.
Yeah,
quite annoying, really.
I suppose so. I've been to the West Ham, well, the London Stadium, both in Olympic configuration and as West Ham ground. So I do have a bit of an insight in this. So I saw them versus Swansea City in 2017. So my dad's a West Ham fan, so I've gone occasionally. Yeah,
I don't dislike West Ham. I was going to throw that out there. I think of London's clubs, I think they're near the top of the pile. I don't hate them like I hate Chelsea and Arsenal and
Spurs,
Tottenham.
Yeah. So like I've been to West Ham before. Potentially, well, I probably will go again quite soon anyway. So yeah, I liked it during the Olympics as a ground. Sort of I saw it in the Paralympics, but obviously in 2012 at its pomp.
Yeah.
It was very, very unlike anything. The only ground I could ever say I've ever been to that's like it is Stade de France. Really, is the only ground I've been to which is anything like it.
Yeah, it is a nice ground. I don't know if it was like this when you went, but then it felt like the atmosphere was a bit muted, and I couldn't really tell why.
I think
it felt like there were groups of fans singing, but it just didn't feel like it had the same sort of vibe to it that a lot of the other bigger stadiums have been. Like even when they were doing well, I didn't feel there was the roar there. It was when the only time it was really loud was when they were singing "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles."
I think the issue is that they've still not settled in there. There's still, well, for let's say 70% of the audience, 70% of the crowd, they're Upton Park or Bowling Ground or wherever it is. It's Upton Park. Upton Park is within recent memory, and I think you could walk in there as a West Ham fan and don't really feel at home here, even though it is home now. It's kind of not Upton Park.
I think there's also, I think you get a lot of tourists.
Yeah, and it's the cheapest. It's not the cheapest. It's the easiest. Apart from Fulham, probably. Apart from Fulham, it's the easiest high-level London team to go and watch because you can't go to Palace, you can't go to Arsenal, Chelsea, or Spurs. West Ham or Fulham. That's your options, really.
Yeah.
Unless you want to go to Cheltenham or Millwall or something like that.
Which I'd say is probably a better bet. But West Ham, if you want to see, like, if you're in the capital and you want to go to a Premier League game, it's relatively easy to get into West Ham. I mean, I got into West Ham.
You could buy tickets for the Lyon quarter-final 2 days beforehand.
And it's because it's huge.
Yeah.
They're never going to sell 55,000 tickets to
every week unless they start winning the league. Unless they start winning the league, I doubt that they'll ever average 60,000 a week, 55,000 a week, or 65, whatever it is. They're never going to get that unless they start consistently being top four in the same way that City and Liverpool are. I do like it. I preferred it in the old configuration. I'm not the biggest fan of the way it is. It just you feel like you're about 6 miles away from the pitch.
See, I didn't feel that was that bad.
Yeah.
I've heard that as a complaint. So when I took a picture of it, which is the one that's the backdrop to us talking, I sent it to Eddie, and he was like, "Oh, you're miles away from the pitch," and I was like, "I've zoomed out, so that's like the 0.5 on your camera, as it were. You like zoomed way out so I could get the whole thing in." And I sent him one of like what my actual view was like, and the actual view was more like it was good. So I'm going to just dig it up. There we go. So that my actual view looked like that.
Yeah.
So it's like watching it on TV. Whereas when I was zoomed out, look, leg room. So when I was zoomed out, it was like that. And it looks like I'm really far away, but I'm really not.
Yeah, I think it's I think compared to the grounds I usually go to, West Ham feels like a million miles away from it. I think that's probably the main complaint. Comparison to everything else I go to, it does seem quite big. But I do like the London Stadium. I think it's better than. I prefer London Stadium to Wembley for a start. I can't really stand Wembley as a ground for football as a football experience. But
I've only ever been to Old Wembley, and I didn't go to watch football. I went to watch Aerosmith play there, so I feel like I've kind of missed out on that whole.
Yeah. Although, have you got something for the Women's Euros at Wembley?
No, I tried to get tickets for the final, but I couldn't. I've got tickets to the opening match, so I'm going to Old Trafford for the opener.
So that's. I prefer London Stadium to Wembley by miles, but I think, and it feels modern in the sense that again, like yourself, like for example, Emirates Stadium, Arsenal. I've only ever been to a concert there, but I kind of walked in there. I was like, this feels like a ground from 2005. It feels like it's from 2005, whereas the West London Stadium does feel modern. It feels state of the art, and
well, they built it for the Olympics, didn't they?
Yeah,
so it was supposed to be state of the art. It is a really good stadium for the amount of people that you can pack into there, and I think there's a lack of atmosphere because they're not selling that many tickets to people who are there to watch West Ham.
Yeah, they're to get the Premier League experience.
Yeah, London's like a massive place for tourism. I think they're selling a good 20 to 30% of their tickets to tourists.
Yeah, and that also comes with the whole. I hate the new, even though it's not circle. I do still strongly dislike the new West Ham badge. But that was the whole thing about the whole West Ham United London thing. London was never on the West Ham badge before the Olympic Stadium move. Sorry, the London Stadium move, and it's all to be, I think, Gold and Sullivan. They kind of want to position them as this is London's team. It's not Chelsea. It's not Arsenal. It's West Ham London. So
it's East London's team.
Yeah, but yeah, I think. Watching the Lyon match last week or the week before, whatever it was, that was rocking. And I think if you'd been in there for that, I think we probably would have very, very different opinions on it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's my own fault for going there when Everton were playing, but I wanted specifically to watch Everton once this season, and it just happened to be at West Ham. I just wanted to get a look at like Richarlison in an Everton shirt, for example, because there's a chance he might not be there much longer, and he's done really well for the club, and I just wanted to go and watch them play. They didn't play badly, to be honest. Michael Keane got sent off, and that was kind of the end of it.
The end of that,
Seeing as we are the Groundhoppers guide, I'm going to throw out some like London-based ground tips. Number one is regarding driving into London. Don't.
I was wondering where you was going with that.
Well, there's two ways to do it. You can either drive to somewhere that's just outside London, park up and get a train in, because London's public transport is like one of the best public transport systems in the world. Or you can use something called the Just Park app, which allows you to park on someone's driveway, because people that live in London don't have cars. So they have driveways, but they don't have cars. So when I went to Wimbledon earlier in the season, we parked on someone's driveway. It was within walking distance of the ground. And when we went to West Ham, we parked on someone's driveway, and it was like a tenner for the afternoon. So that's my tip.
Following on from that tip, if you do want to drive and park somewhere in the London vicinity, the absolute best place to park, if you're coming from the north at least, the absolute best place to park is Stanmore. It's on the end of the Jubilee line. Stanmore Station. You're at the end of the Jubilee line, so it goes right into the centre, all the way from just near Wembley Stadium. So it goes Stanmore. You drive. The next stop is Barnet's ground, so you can go to Barnet very easily. You go past Wembley Stadium. You can go off towards Wealdstone, out towards West London. Go all the way through the centre to go to anywhere you'd want to go, and it goes all the way out towards Greenwich, towards the O2. So, in my opinion, Stanmore is the absolute best place to park if you're going into London. There you go. That's my top tip.
Actual ground hopping guides here.
But I always get the train. So.
Yeah.
But
if
you do need to drive,
we were parked within sight of the stadium, and we had no trouble getting in and no trouble getting out, which I thought it was going to be terrible because look at how many people there are. The one benefit of people not driving in London is that you don't get like a mass of cars trying to get out of there. So it ended up kind of okay.
You just end up crammed onto a train.
Yeah, which is what happened when we left Cheltenham. But then that was fine. That was fine. I thought it would be much worse. I've had much worse experiences leaving grounds this season than I have leaving grounds in London. Every time I've left a ground in London, it's been basically fine. Is it still me?
Yes, it is.
It's still me. So the week after going to West Ham, I went to Millwall. So
I missed this. I had COVID this weekend because I would have gone.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I thought you'd already done Millwall. Otherwise, I'd have probably have like delayed it and done it another time.
I've got a lot of positive things to say about Millwall, as in terms of the ground anyway. So my great grandparents used to live literally one stop away from Millwall, so I kind of always went past it on the train. So I've always kind of gone, I really like the way Millwall looks. A lot of my extended family supports Millwall, so I don't have a soft spot for them at all, but I'm aware of them, and they've always been a team in my existence. But yeah, I've never done them, and I tried to get tickets for them this past weekend, but I couldn't get them. So, yeah,
I guess I got in because it was Barnsley and they're rubbish.
Barnsley, yeah.
Also, I looked at the results that they'd had, and Millwall have not scored a lot of goals this season. They've been very
impotent.
Sparse. Yeah. So they'd only managed 3 goals once, and that was against Birmingham City, which barely even counts. So they I went into the game expecting like a 0-0 or a 1-0. I thought it was going to be like a really scrappy game, and instead it was great. Millwall won 4-1. Scored the most goals they scored all season. So I feel like earlier in the season, I was seeing some pretty rough games with not a lot of goals in. And I've kind of gone in this rich vein of like every game I go to is great. And there's just goals galore and it's end-to-end football. So basically you need me at your games because I'm clearly a good luck charm.
Yeah. It's, I think that was, what was the other game we went to that had, I think you've just lucked out and you've seen some very, very good games this year. I think what they say the Bromley game, I think, was obviously one.
Bromley game was great. That's probably my game of the season.
Yeah, probably is for me, to be fair as well. But yeah, you do. I think you luck out when you go and you get some good results when you come down south. Anyway.
Yeah, I've been to some pretty ropey games this season. I've been to a couple of 0-0s and. I have seen a game at St Andrews, so I know what hell looks like. No, this was a good one. It's a good one. I have some complaints about Millwall. It was a very white viewing experience.
Yeah,
like everyone around me was extremely white. They booed the knee at the start, and I was just, for me, that's a deal breaker. Like I was prepared to go in and enjoy Millwall, and I did for the most part, but that just kind of, I can't forgive that. I can't. So I wouldn't really. It's strange because like I went in because Millwall, when I was a kid, everyone was scared of Millwall. There was a lad in my school who swore that he went with like a bus full of Wolves fans down there, and that when the bus was pulling away, like the supporters coach, he saw one of the Wolves fans get dragged down an alleyway by a bunch of Millwall supporters, and like they apparently never saw him again. I feel like that's one of those things that you tell
urban legends, yeah,
in school, because how are they going to fact check it? It being pre-internet as well. But yeah, there was always like a Millwall equals frightening. A lot of the images I watched on TV as a kid were violence at Millwall, you know, chairs being thrown around, pitch invasions. So it's always kind of had a spot in the back of my head that when you go to Millwall, don't go to Millwall versus anyone that might be trouble. I thought Barnsley would be safe, and it was completely safe, because a lot of this is just manufactured, like, because it's happened in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen every week.
I wouldn't choose Millwall QPR, for example.
No. Based on, I mean, we've seen a fight involving Millwall fans this season. It was in Birmingham.
Yes,
we
when
were
they
coming
played
back
City
from Walsall, and we saw West Brom and Millwall fans fighting outside a pub in the middle of Birmingham. So I feel like the reputation is somewhat justified, but at the same time, it wasn't the intimidating atmosphere as I was expecting. Maybe the atmosphere was a bit slow to pick up. I don't know if they've just had a bit of a ropey season in front of goal, and that's kind of why. But it kind of felt a bit limp at the start.
I think the thing with Millwall is they're only ever really on telly when it's a tasty fixture. They're not showing Millwall versus Hull City on TV. You know, and I think there's probably there's nothing for them to get their teeth into again with a game against Barnsley, really, is there? Like, in terms of like getting a raucous atmosphere, and Millwall's a team which likes to be confrontational against other teams in crowds. And I've been to Luton versus Millwall, I think 3 times at Luton. And it's usually a great back and forth, because, you know, Luton is biased, but Luton's a proper crowd. And Millwall, I think, against Luton, there's a lot of history between the two clubs. So there's always a bit of back and forth. But really, what is there really sort of for their teeth to get into, really? Because a lot of away fans, probably like your family away fan, they're going to, Joe, I'm not going to go to Millwall because I've heard it's a bit mental. So really, they must really suffer with away attendance.
Well, I don't know if you could see the away attendance. That's the away. It's really small, but look, you could probably count it. I think it increased once we got underway. Oh, there we go. It's a better picture. There you go. That's those are the travelling Barnsley fans. And admittedly, Barnsley are having a dreadful season. They're probably going to get relegated, and will struggle to get out of the League One as well. So you probably wouldn't want to trek down to London to watch your team get thumped by Millwall, and possibly get shanked in an alleyway on the way home. Yeah, so I kind of understand it. The best thing about Millwall, for me, was discovering the Bermondsey Beer Mile. So it's basically the train tracks that run sort of down towards Millwall. In the arches underneath, there's just a ton of breweries and tap rooms, and I could have quite easily have just spent the day going up and down there, sacked off the football, and not gone home for 2 days, quite easily.
Yeah,
but I'm glad I went, because it was a good game. I got to see Josh, my footballing son. He lives down south now, so we got the chance to go to this game together. I think there's a nice little wholesome picture in the oh, there is. There you go.
There we go.
Lovely
lad.
Yeah, so that was fun. It was nice to get to see him, watch a game with him. And we both had like particularly good days as well as football supporters, because he supports Chelsea and they won 6-0. And Everton beat Man United, and Bromsgrove won as well. It was basically everything like went perfectly. I had a nice beer.
That was my birthday, and I had COVID, so I was in bed.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Mike. So
never mind, eh?
Yeah.
So there'll be another one, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'll have another birthday.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. You've still got 2 grounds to get through.
Yeah, I've still got. So yeah, I'll try and keep them a bit more concise. So obviously, this past weekend was Easter weekend, and ruining the fact that I couldn't do anything over my birthday weekend, it kind of became my birthday weekend. So I managed to get 2 games in because you had Easter Friday and Saturday. I didn't do anything on the Sunday or the Monday because I realised I've got a bit of long COVID and I can't really do 4 days in a trot. So on the Friday, I went down to Vauxhall Road, which is Hemel Hempstead Town's ground. I'd kind of realised that Hemel, apart from Watford and Milton Keynes, is the biggest ground that I've not done in sort of the immediate area, in the sense of I could go there. It took me 25 minutes to drive to Hemel Hempstead, so it's not that far at all. It's a ground that I've never really been particularly drawn towards. I'd always kind of imagined it'd be a bit crap, really, because Hemel's kind of a bit of a provincial place. It's not really much going on. Leverstock Green is a place, is also in Hemel, or just within Hemel sort of area, and I went there earlier in the season to Pancake Lane, and that was a much bigger draw to me than Hemel Hempstead Town. But I got into Hemel and I walked through the front gates, and I was like, I bloody love this already. I kind of make an effort to not really look at too many pictures of the ground before I go, because I like to sort of get a bit of a surprise. And I walked in, and I walked in, and then it's immediate, where do I go? Because there's 3 different ways I can go as I come. So I was like, I'll go to where all the crowds are. And then there was a big open, sort of beer garden thing outside the bar. There was like there was like 6 stands of all different sizes. Really, really nice. All the red paint everywhere. In the far corner, there's like this wonderful, really modern terrace, actually. And there's actually another one being built by the looks of it. Yeah, you can see on here. It's like AstroTurf terrace. So I was like, right, I'm going to head over there because that's right in the sun. The sun's going to be behind me, but it's going to be nice. It's all dry. I can actually sit down if I want to. It is a 3G pitch, unfortunately, because they do allow that in National League South. But yeah, it was just a bit mad. And like you walk in, and you mentioned about the Pigeon Club, whatever it is. There's a pigeon racing club in this ground as well. I think it's on the two pictures down. There was a pigeon racing club there. There was loads of piles of crap, which is always a good thing.
Oh, I've got the pit. There it is.
Yeah, the pigeon racing pigeon club. I was like, what on earth's that? Loads of piles of crap. You go inside the clubhouse, and there's a bloody Greek statues inside. Because it does. You look at the outside appearance, it does not. You don't expect to see that indoors. So
that's not what I was expecting from the outside.
Yeah, a Tudor tavern. Yeah, you don't expect that. So yeah, Hemel's been in the National League South for years. Hemel and St Albans City, they're 2 rival teams. Quite a meaty rivalry, surprisingly, considering how posh St Albans is. There was a Boxing Day fixture good few years back, where there was 30 arrests and Boxing Day. On a derby between the two, so that was kind of the level of rivalry they have. But Hemel, I kind of was at this ground, and I was sort of looking around. It's like I could imagine this ground in the league, in the Football League, in League Two. But it kind of if you see like the Crown Ground for Accrington Stanley and like Sutton United, and you think I could see, with a little bit of infrastructure, the the infrastructure is already there is good in some places.
I do really like this view. The Astro Terrace and
the other thing is the pitch is a little bit on a bit of a ski whiff, but they flattened it. So one end of the pitch you're above the pitch, and the other end of the pitch you're actually below it. So if that makes sense, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that does. So yeah, so the land is on a squiff, but it's actually flattened. So I kind of was sitting there, I was like, I can imagine, with another. I think it was 800 people, but I was like, I could imagine another 1,000 people in here, and I could see this in the Football League. Hemel as a team, they seem quite well sorted. They've got a good sort of back room. It's sort of like the infrastructure seems really, really good. I'd love to see them at least in the Conference Nationals. So, but they're sitting fairly safely mid-table. I think they're challenging for the playoffs, but I don't know if that's really likely to happen.
I would love for there to be more promotion and relegation between League Two and the National League, because at the moment, obviously, it's 1+ playoff.
1+ playoff. It's completely
unfair. At minimum, it should be 3.
It's probably 3 up, 3 down. It should be 3 up, 3 down.
But League 1 into League 2 is 4.
I've said it before. There is literally no difference between the bottom half of League 1 and the National League. That sort of division, and that's 40 teams. There's no difference between the bottom half of the League 1 down towards the top half of the National League. So
maybe the players are a little bit fitter in League 1, but there's not a lot in it.
The problem is that because it was a discussion when we were down in the National League, in the conference, sorry, it was always a discussion in the sense that we were pushing for everybody in the conference pushes for it because they want it.
Yeah,
the problem is that there's 8 or 9 teams in League 2 who turkeys don't want to wait for Christmas because it's unfortunately the problem is that it is oblivion if you drop into that league.
Some of those bottom half of League 2 teams, if they got relegated,
it'd kill them.
There's a strong chance that they'd
I'm not too confident for Oldham, to be honest. Oh, that's always a worrying sound.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I've played it. Scunthorpe have gone. I mean,
Scunthorpe and Oldham, I don't worry. I worry for, to be honest, both of them. If they, because Scunthorpe's gone, Oldham's looking like they are down. Not too confident about them.
Stevenage as well.
Stevenage, I think
they'd be all right.
They've got enough about them at the moment. But
yeah, I think it's a case of their running is harder than Oldham's running. I think that's probably what the difference is down there. I think when you look at some of the teams that have dropped out of the league, when they drop out of the league, sometimes they just drop out of existence as well.
Well, like York City.
Like York, Scarborough, Maidstone, I think. Was it Maidstone?
Rushden and Diamonds.
Maidenhead, Rushden and Diamonds. The teams just disappear sometimes. So I know it can be very scary, but if there's more promotion and relegation, you've got a better chance of getting back up.
The only way I see 3 up, 3 down is if the Football League expands into League 3. But the terrifying thing with League 3 is that League 3 has always been the way of inputting reserve teams into the pyramid, which you don't want. But
no, I'm very, very opposed to that.
If League 3 becomes a renamed National League, then I'm all for it. I don't have a problem with that, as long as there's obviously fair distribution of the TV for the new teams. 80% of the conference is 80% of the National League, sorry, is professional anyway. So
there's good teams down there. There's really good teams.
Yeah, you just need to level the teams out so it's 120 teams. You've got 110. If you had 110 teams from Premier League to League 3, I don't see a problem with that. I think the issue is obviously where as long as it's not reserve teams in there, because we just don't want that at all.
No, I don't want that. Where that we've been talking for a while. Bedford.
Yeah. Bedford, yes. Sorry.
Well.
So final game of this show and of the week. So I did Bedford Town versus AFC Dunstable. I'll be very quick on this one because there wasn't really. I did enjoy Bedford as a ground. Had a cool little museum, which was interesting. But the main reason I picked it is because it was a season decider. It was a title decider. If Bedford won and results elsewhere counted towards them, Bedford would win the Spartan South Midlands Premier Division. No, sorry, the Southern League Division 1 Central. My apologies. So if results went their way, they would have won the league. And as a ground, really, bit slapdash. The new Eyrie. It is right next to. You did mention which Bedford is it? Is it Bedford or Bedford Town? The other Bedford's team is literally across. You can see the goal mouth of their ground from inside the new Eyrie.
Yes,
literally next door. It's closer than Dundee United. It's closer than Nottingham. So I'm actually going to say that Bedford and Bedford Town is the two closest teams in the country to have separate grounds. The one thing that
the next time we record, I'm going to show you something that I think is going to blow your mind. But
okay,
next time. This is
right.
for another time.
I'll look forward to it. The ground is fairly slapdash, kind of lots of little stands. Really much to say about it. But it was obviously a title decider, and in the world of Twitter, we was also I stayed with the home fans because they were obviously making all the noise, and there was people basically. It was Berkhamsted. The other game that we was watching was Berkhamsted versus Harlow Town. Berkhamsted is sort of in North Hertfordshire, and we were sort of watching that. We were sort of watching the results of that, and Berkhamsted equalised in the 85th minute or something like that. So everyone was like, disappointed. But then Harlow scored a winner. Harlow scored a winner in the 90th minute, 91st minute.
Shall we play the video?
Yes, and there is
We've
a video.
Got a video. We'll play the video.
Yeah, there we go. Champions, ole, ole, ole. My favourite chants in the world because it's always sung with such joy. So yeah, Bedford won the league.
I'm sure they got one of the celebrating.
Yes,
the celebrations as well. Beautiful.
That was at the end. And John Moxley underneath.
We have got John Moxley underneath.
Yeah, it was such a joyful occasion to sort of be at, and I've seen a title win before. I've seen a few sort of title wins. I've seen Luton do it before. I also saw when I went to the Austrian game, the game in Austria, the reserve league game. I saw them win the league as well, which was which is another one. But it's always a joyful thing. But especially when you go to a lower league team, when everyone's on the pitch and you could tell the party went on in that clubhouse until midnight for sure. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about Bedford. But I would definitely say Bedford and Hemel definitely wants to do it if you're sort of in the general Bedfordshire area. You've done Luton already.
I like the general Bedfordshire area.
Yeah, well, it's literally north and south, isn't it? Well, no, Hemel's in Hertfordshire. Yeah, there we go. Screwed that one up.
Oh well. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's all the.
We've gone very long tonight. I do apologize.
Yeah. There was a lot to talk about. It's gone surprisingly long. So we are both going to be at the same game on May the 7th. Just thought we'd throw it out there if you want to come and hang out. There's a lot of our associated like friends of the show coming along. We're going to be at Dulwich Hamlet for their game against Hemel Hempstead on May the 7th, 3:00 kickoff. Recommended to get tickets in early because it's last day.
I'll stick a link up on my Twitter, so you probably will have already seen it. But we will be at that game. I think it's at 13 quid for a ticket. So it's National League South, National League South, Dulwich Hamlet FC. One of the cool clubs in London, apparently. So we're giving you a bit of notice. So if you do fancy coming along, just drop one of us a message, and we'll make sure we meet up with you.
Yes, that would be lovely.
Yes,
that is all that we have time for. We've done an hour and a half, which is
astonishing.
Much longer than we've done before. These things happen. So that's it for number 9. We'll see you on number 10, where I run out of fingers. And just have a great time at the football, guys. Just enjoy the sports, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon.